The world was not perfect anymore after sin entered. But God had a plan. God had a plan to rescue and bless the whole world through Abraham's family. But there's a problem. Abraham and his wife had no child. How is God going to bless the whole world through his family? God promised to bless Abraham and Sarah with a child when he was 75 years old. But when he was 99 years old, they still had no child. Guess what? After a year, when Abraham is 100 years old, Sarah is finally pregnant and gave birth to a son. And they named him Isaac. After a few years, God told Abraham to take Isaac, his one and only son, to sacrifice as a burnt offering. Why do people need to give a burnt offering? Remember, sin separated us from God, and the only way for us to restore our relationship with God is by asking for forgiveness from God through the giving of sacrifice. That's why in the olden days, people would kill and burn animals as an act of sacrifice to God. Abraham must be confused at that time. Why would God promise him a son and take his son away? But deep down in his heart, he trusted in God. He knows that God has a greater plan. So he loaded his donkey and bring his son onto a journey to the place that God will show him. It was a long journey. It took them 3 days to arrive at that place. As they walked up the mountain, Isaac carried the wood, and Abraham carried the coals for the fire. On their way up, Isaac turned to his father and asked, "Father, where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" And Abraham told him that God will provide. When they finally arrived at the top of the mountain, Abraham set up the place for the burnt offering. Then he tied up Isaac's hands and feet and laid him on top of the wood. He took up his knife and suddenly, "Abraham! Abraham!" A voice from heaven stopped Abraham from killing his son. It was an angel. The angel told Abraham not to harm Isaac, and God knows that he loves God more than anything else. Abraham looked up, and there's a ram stuck at the bush. God provided the ram as a sacrifice in place of Isaac. So Abraham called that place, "The Lord will provide." The story of Abraham and Isaac points us to God's rescue plan for all of us. Isaac was Abraham and Sarah's only son. Jesus is God's only son too. Abraham and Isaac used a donkey in their journey to the mountain. Jesus rode on a donkey into Jerusalem. Abraham and Isaac's journey took 3 days. Jesus rose from the dead on the 3rd day. Isaac carried the wood. Jesus carried the wooden cross. Isaac was laid on the altar. Jesus was nailed on the cross. The ram replaced Isaac as the sacrifice, and Jesus took our place and was the ultimate sacrifice for our sin. God provided the ram for Abraham as the sacrifice in place of Isaac. God gave his one and only son, Jesus, as the sacrifice for all of our sin. Because of sin, our relationship with God is broken. Therefore, people in the olden days keep giving burnt offering to keep trying to restore their relationship with God. But now, we do not need to give any burnt offering anymore because God has provided us the ultimate and perfect sacrifice, Jesus, to die for us once and for all, so that our relationship with God is restored forever.